what did you think of Alabama's performance tonight? I thought defensively, there's no such thing. Here, let me rephrase. There's no such thing as a perfect performance because you're not going to hold a team to 0 yards. You're not going to hold a team to – you're not going to get a touchdown or whatever every play. But that was a pretty close. Held Utah State to 136 total yards, 57 yards passing, 79 yards rushing, only 6 penalties, which for the first game of the year, I mean, if you watched any of the other games today, there was some jumpiness. Main example I think of is Cincinnati. Luke Fickell's a hell of a coach, but that team was just lining up wrong, false starts, holdings, a lot of issues. So it's the first game of the year, and you only had 6 penalties. On the flip side, Utah State had 11 penalties. You did have the 1 turnover from Milroe, but as far as performance goes, I'm mostly talking about the starters. But if mentioning Milroe, he looked better. Last year, he couldn't throw. It was pretty awful watching Milroe throw. And this first throw he had, I think it was a screen. I think the first throw he had was the screen pass for a touchdown. That didn't look too good either. He underthrew it, but there was just no Aggies in the way. But he looked better. Ty Simpson got in there and threw 1 pass. I mean, what are you gonna judge from that? But as far as the team goes, as far as the game goes, defensively you pitch a shutout. Hard to do against, and it's hard to do against air. The only on the field, it was pretty great performance. Now, the talking point out of this game is Tyler Harrell's on the sidelines in a walking boot. JoJo Early's on the sidelines with a walking boot. Where does that leave the Alabama receiving core that was already unproven coming into the year? That was what we were all worried about their chances of repeating. We knew Bryce Young was probably going to be amazing again. Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't know how many of you watched Georgia Tech football. I watched a couple games. I'm not going to proclaim to be an expert on the team in Atlanta. He carried that team they had 3 wins. 2 of them were to Jahmyr Gibbs, which as a running back is tough to do. But they brought in Jermaine Burton. Some of these other guys were going to have to step up. Trayshawn Holden had a good night. Apprentice had a good night. Jermaine Burton came in, played solidly. Those are the type of guys that are going to have to step up if Alabama wants to get back to the national championship. There's a tough schedule ahead. There's some, not even really a tough schedule, but there's some games that they have that are interesting. They go to Arkansas. That place is going to be nuts for that game. It was a good crowd today for the Razorbacks against Cincinnati. I can only imagine a night game or a 2:30 kick on CBS against Alabama is going to look like. I love this dog. He's just a little goofy. What you're hearing is this dog playing with like a bottle cap. He has all the toys in the world he could possibly want, but he plays with a bottle cap. I don't get it. They go to Texas next week. Truth be told, that shouldn't be much of an issue. Vanderbilt, that shouldn't be an issue. At Arkansas, that's going to be a tough one. We can talk about their performance a little bit later. Texas A&M at home. Texas A&M fans were already calling for Haynes King to be benched. They go to Tennessee. That place could be rocking. Mississippi State at home, at LSU, at Mississippi State, or at Ole Miss, Austin Peay, and then Auburn. So there's some trip. This isn't like a soft schedule for the Crimson Tide. And with a performance tonight, like let's say they would have won like 38-13, but you could tell there were still some holes. We would have had some issues. There would have been a lot more to talk about when it comes to this game. If the running game still wasn't getting going, if the receivers struggled, and it was Bryce Young kind of like last year, just kind of winging it and hoping Mechie or Jameson Williams was open. That's what a lot of the offense was last year.